Welcome back to episode 10 of the Coffee and Takes podcast. What I want to talk about today is the evolution of my philosophy, specifically concerning time and my relationship with time over the years. Young Ali had a terrible relationship with time, and as a result, he always felt anxious, stressed, concerned about the future. Always comparing himself with people who had more than he did. And I say had more because at the time I thought they were ahead of me when they weren't. But it really troubled me. Now, just to give you some context, I graduated high school with a C in geography, a D in chemistry, and a D in biology. Those were my A-level grades. And this was after I had retaken my A-levels. So my first attempt was even worse than that. And at the time, I was very worried about my future. I didn't know what the future had in store for me. Everyone around me appeared to know exactly what they wanted in their future. This guy was applying to medicine, this guy was applying to study law, this guy was applying to study biochemical engineering, and I was like, man, what the hell's wrong with me? I was confused. Now, I initially applied to study dentistry, not because I wanted to be a dentist, because my parents, as they would, being North African parents from Libya, encouraged me to pursue dentistry. Good career, people admire it, yada, 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 right? I had no interest, I'll be honest, in dentistry. But I remember getting a conditional offer from King's College London, and I remember touring the campus, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could do this. As it turned out, I didn't get the grades. So when I was reattempting my A-levels, I decided to apply to study geology because my father studied mechanical engineering and that later ended up in the oil business, and he advised me to potentially consider geology because that could take you down the path of working in the oil business as well. And I remember going to Leicester University. I'm touring Leicester University where I had a conditional offer to study geology, and there were rocks on the table and stuff, and I was just walking around thinking, man, do I really want to do this? So yeah, I finished with a C and 2 Ds. And at that time, I was very, very concerned, as I mentioned. So I decided to take a gap year after going through 3 years of hell when it came to A-levels. And I gave it a shot, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't one of those students that messed about. No, I actually gave it a shot. I studied to the best of my ability. I bought extra books on the topics. I sought coaching online, but it just didn't work out. And so that's why, I guess, in a sense, I didn't feel any guilt about how badly the results were. I didn't feel any guilt. It was more so concern. What you don't want to experience in life is guilt. So I can look back and thankfully I can say I didn't experience any guilt. I didn't have any more room. I didn't have more to give. I actually gave it everything. So I thought, you know what? I gave it everything. It is what it is. Now what? So I ended up taking a gap year, and I didn't go traveling around Thailand or anything like that. No, I ended up my first ever telesales job was for a telecommunications company. We were selling telecommunications, and I remember the salary I think was around 14,000 or 15,000 a year. So basically nothing. And I remember going in there having no sales experience, the training was like 2 hours long, and I remember just being thrown right in the deep end. I think the guy was called Mark, the guy that was training us. Said a few bits and bobs and then chucked us on the phones. There were no computers or nothing, and I'm not talking about it like it was the 70s, but the place that I was working at didn't have any computers. It was just pink pieces of paper and corded telephones, and you just had to call as many people as possible. Cold calling, not pre-warmed. You know, a lot of people now that I speak to, that I coach, they don't want to do sales because they don't want to have to speak to someone they don't know or someone that isn't familiar with their product. And it's always harder speaking to someone who is completely cold. You know, some businesses will say, we'll provide you with a lead list of people that we've pre-warmed or people that have maybe bought from us in the past. This was completely cold. So I was calling people up, hey, fuck off, hang up. Oh, God. Pick up the phone again. Hey, man, didn't I tell you to stop calling? I realized I called the same guy twice. I'm like, damn shit. Pick up the phone again. We're not interested. Get me off your lit. Click. And it was 200 or 300 phone calls a day. Sometimes people didn't pick up, and I was like, oh, thank fuck for that. There was a sense of relief. And occasionally there was a person that said, all right then, cool, what do I have to do? And that person ended up signing up with us. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not a fucking idiot after all. And I was in that company for a few months. And I actually credit that company for getting me out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't say I was an introverted kid, but I was definitely more reserved than I probably should have been. And being in sales just took me out of my comfort zone completely. Drove me out of the zone. Imagine there's a zone. Sales drove me the fuck out of it. Hey, you ain't staying here. You're going out into the wilderness. So it changed me. And I told my younger brother to get a job in sales for that reason. It will change you as a man. Plus, we're always selling. Whether you realize it or not, you're selling. You're selling yourself. When you're making videos, you're selling. You might be thinking, well, I'm not selling a service, Ali. You're selling you. You're selling you. You're in the business of you. I'm in the business of Ali Ben-Hariz. Whether I realize it or not, people are looking at me, they're making an assumption. So I was in that company for a while. I left. And then I was like, now what? And I left because I wanted to make more money, and the salary was shit and the commission structure wasn't that great. I ended up working in a warehouse for a while. FedEx. I was there for like 3 months, left. And at this stage, I'm thinking, man, is this going to be my life? Am I just going to bounce around from one place to the next on minimum wage? I realized I had to do something. I didn't want to be that guy who gets older and earns the same. But I was very worried because I'd open Instagram and I'd look at what some of these young kids were doing around my age. And we're talking I was 19, 20, right? And these guys are traveling the world and doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, man, what am I doing wrong? The reality was I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was exactly where I needed to be in my character development journey. You are exactly where you need to be in your journey, especially when you're 18, 19, and you're confused and you don't know what you want to do. Good. It's good to be confused. I mean, there's so many options that you could take. It's good to consider the options, but you don't want to stay confused for too long. The first thing you do doesn't have to be the thing you do for the rest of your life. And I think a lot of people are worried about that. They think, oh, but if I choose this, I won't be able to change. You can change the thing that you're doing. Jim Rohn used to say, you are not a tree, you can move. You don't have to stay doing this one thing. As a human being, you can wake up and decide, you know what? I'm done being a customer service agent. I want to start my own photography business. You can decide to do that. Now, I always take a practical approach when it comes to entrepreneurship. Keep the job and let the job fund your dreams. That's the best approach. It's the most practical approach. It's rooted in practicality, not fantasy. Because entrepreneurship ain't easy, and I'll get onto that in just a second. What we see is the hype and the glamour and the glitz. We don't see what it actually entails. Very few people show that because it's not sexy. It's not going to get the views and the clicks. No one's going to say, hey, it's going to take you 7 years. Buy my ebook today. No, people want results yesterday. That's how the world is. And that mindset will corrupt you. It really will. I posted about it on my Instagram today. That's not the way nature works, as an example. It takes 50 years for an oak tree to fully mature. Now, if you planted the seed for an oak tree today and you came back tomorrow and you said, hang on a second, I've been scammed. Where's the tree at? They'll come and take you away, as Jim Rohn used to say. Meaning something's not quite right with you in the head. If you think, oh, the tree should be fully formed by now. You can't be that naive. You can't be delusional. This podcast is very kindly sponsored by the gentleman at Glownode. If you are an aspiring trader who would like to gain access to capital to further progress your trading career, take a look at Glownode. They provide you with several options when it comes to funding. Once you pass your assessment, your evaluation phase with them, you have access to capital ranging from $10,000 all the way up to $200,000 in funding. I've dropped the details down in the link below. Things take time. Greatness, in fact, forget the word things. Greatness takes time. If you have the audacity to want to live a remarkable life, a life better than most people will ever come close to living, then come on, you got to give it more than just 30 days to materialize, more than 60 days. You want this grand life, but you want it to happen in 30 days. Come on now. This ain't a video game. It's not GTA where you can start playing the game today and then next week your character has 30 million in the bank. That's not how real life works. You got to get good at something. I've spoken about the 4 stages of competence before. In the beginning, you're unconsciously incompetent, meaning you don't know what you don't know. You're crap. And it's because you're completely unaware of what it is that you're doing. It's new to you. So of course you're going to be shit. If you don't know how to do something because you've never done it before, you're going to be shit when you first attempt it. So that's the first stage. The second stage is consciously incompetent, meaning you're still making mistakes, but now you're aware of where the mistakes are, which is progress. And then you move into the stage of conscious competence. Now you're getting good at something and you know what you're doing to get the result. It's not yet second nature to you, but you know if I put this in, I'm going to get this out. And then eventually you get to the highest stage of learning, which is unconscious competence, meaning it's second nature to you. It's like driving. The first time you drive, you're stalling all over the place, you're hyper aware, you're nervous, you're sweating. Every car seems like it's out to take you. But after 5, 6, 7 years, man, you're driving around with your eyes closed. I don't recommend that you do that. I'm not saying that you should. But you get the fucking point here. You're very arrogant with it almost. You're driving with one finger on the steering wheel. Right? So you've got to give yourself the time to prove to the marketplace that you are as good as you say you are. Come on. You've got to get good. I mean, I love watching football, right? Or soccer, as you guys in the US call it. It's football, by the way, right? And when I watch football games, sometimes I see this young, promising player who's being a little bit too difficult when it comes to his contract negotiations. And he's just starting his career, but he wants to be paid the highest possible salary. In fact, higher than some of the better players in the team. That always gets me thinking, come on, bro. You're just starting off. Prove yourself. After a year or two of playing exceptionally well, you'll get a much higher salary package. But if you're demanding it too soon, you'll shoot yourself in the foot. Prove how competent you really are. The likes of Ronaldo, Messi, they didn't have to sit there and really negotiate hard. No. I can guarantee you the negotiations were piss easy. So easy. Yep, looking at the amount of goals, the amount of assists. This is what I want. In fact, they tell the clubs what they want. This is what I want. Now, you can pay me or I can leave. You don't want to lose a Messi or a Ronaldo, right? Guaranteed success, that is. You get the point here. So, circling back, there I was, jumping from one job to the next, looking at Instagram every night before I go to bed. Oh, man, why does he... It was because of my faulty thinking. I was looking at these people and assuming that, first of all, their success was genuine, which in most cases, if you're 19, you're not really going to have started a multiple 9-figure business. I mean, you're just not, unless you have a very wealthy father who's put the business in your name and appointed you as a CEO, and then technically on paper you are that, but you didn't build the business, your father did. All right, there are exceptions. There's always an exception. I don't like making generalizations, but most of the time, if you're 19, 20, you're not some 9-figure guy. Okay, usually people become, or the average age that I say of a multi-millionaire age range is in the late to early 50s. Sorry, late 40s, early 50s. It's not 19 or 20. Late 40s, early 50s. In fact, the book Think and Grow Rich describes it as most men enter their financial stride around that age range. Okay? So if I can go back to my younger self, I told young Ali to just keep your head in the game, man. Stop looking at what these people are doing. It's just going to stress you out unnecessarily. You're competing with someone you know nothing about. That's not fair on you. So stay in your lane. I know that phrase is overused, but stay in your lane. I've always talked about this analogy. Imagine you're driving and you're in your lane and you're looking ahead, and then all of a sudden you start looking to the side. There's a car that catches your attention. If you keep looking at that car and you don't pay attention to what's going on in front of you, what's going to happen inevitably? Boom, you're going to crash into the car in front of you, because that car would have hit the brakes and you didn't see it happen, and there you go. Right into the back of that car. And the consequences are severe if that happens. And in life, if you keep looking what other people are doing, the consequences are also severe. It will slow you down massively. There's a saying, winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. I don't think you caught that. Winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. Do you want to be a winner or a loser? Stay in your lane. So over the years, I continued to delve further into this trap of comparing myself. I was trying many different things out. The one thing I will give myself credit for is my tenacious nature. I was trying a lot of stuff out. I had a great relationship with risk. I know we're talking about time, but I had a fantastic relationship with risk. In fact, sometimes that relationship was too strong, and I was making silly purchases and things like that, telling myself, no, I'd make the money for it, I'll pay the money back. But when I say risk, I'm specifically talking about trying out new things in terms of career paths, skill sets. I'd buy lots of courses. I'd put money on the line when it comes to a business, 500, 600, 700 here and there. I wasn't afraid of finding out what I liked and what I didn't like, because I had no idea who the hell I was. I was that guy, didn't go to university, in and out of different jobs, didn't really stay at a job for more than 3 months. And I wanted to know who the fuck Ali Ben-Hariz was. Who the hell am I? Who are you? What do you want from me? I was confused. So that allowed me to find out more about myself. Okay, I don't really enjoy dropshipping that much. Don't really like that very much. Okay, I got into a business that eventually I started doing some public speaking. Oh, I'm enjoying this. Okay, at least now I know I enjoy something. And I kept doing that, and opportunities came from that, and I developed my skills even further, and I realized that I enjoy training people. Oh, okay. I continued to try other things out as well. Discovered day trading, realized that I found it very interesting. Oh, this is very interesting. Financial market, okay. Currency pairs, right. 24 hours a day, okay. And eventually things started to connect for me. I started to learn more about myself. And I call it gathering feedback. Right now, if you're 18, 19 and you're confused as hell, you don't have any feedback when it comes to who you are and what you like. So what's the best thing to do? Collect feedback by doing a lot of things. And when I say doing a lot of things, I don't mean giving it a week or two. I mean 6 months, a year, especially when you're 18, 19, you've got all the time in the world. And I'm not saying it's going to take you 100 things for you to find out what that one thing is that you can see yourself doing. No. It could be the third thing or fourth thing. It could happen over the course of 3 or 4 years. But one thing I would say, and this is what I would encourage you to do, is discover your gift. Your gift, as Steve Harvey once described it, is the thing that you do the best with the least amount of effort. When I heard that quote for the first time, I was like, wow. That's an interesting way of looking at things. Your gift is the thing that you do the best with the least amount of effort. It doesn't insinuate that you should give it hardly any effort. No, it's just a thing that comes naturally to you. And I realized for me, it was speaking. It wasn't something that I had to be told to do. Ali, go and do some public speaking. It wasn't something that someone had to force me to do or drag me to do. I wanted to do it. And there's pictures of me on my Instagram from many years ago that I posted as a throwback of when I was doing public speaking events at the age of 21, 20. I would volunteer. I remember there was an event one time near Euston Station in London, and the designated speaker for the day wasn't there. I think that something happened, they couldn't attend. And I remember everyone at that event thinking, okay, what are we going to do now? And a lot of people were trying to avoid doing it. They were nervous about it. And I volunteered. I said, you know what, I'll fill in. And they were like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And I remember doing it. And man, I was nervous as fuck. I mean, it wasn't the first time I did public speaking, but I was nervous. I remember my legs were shaking. And at the time, I wasn't as slick as I am right now. I had a baggy suit. I think the trousers were mine and the blazer was my dad's. I must have done something to the blazer that I had, and it was ripped. I borrowed my dad's blazer. My trousers were just so wide. They didn't fit me well. My shoes were terrible. They were ripped at one side. But man, despite my nerves, I felt great after. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the presence of fear, but overcoming that fear through action. It's not the absence of fear. The fear will be there. Mike Tyson even spoke about how before some of his biggest fights, he felt afraid. Mike Tyson, we're talking about the heavyweight champion of the world, felt nervous, afraid. Some fighters still talk about that. And someone might argue, well, Ali, that's fighting. Well, it's not just fighting. I've seen other podcasts and interviews from people who are in different areas, different walks of life, different lines of work, who also describe feeling nervous. Musicians feeling like it's not real. Like, man, I still can't believe this is real. Me? I'm successful? I'm someone people want to take a picture with? They still can't believe it. And some of them still report feeling like their work wasn't good enough. You know, to me and you, they're geniuses, but they don't feel like what they did was satisfactory, which is insane. So I had a great relationship with risk, and I was trying a lot of things out. And as I matured into my mid to late 20s, I'm 28 now, for those of you that are unaware, God willing, turning 29 in about 3 months. And my mindset has changed completely. It really has. It's evolved. I'm a lot calmer now. I don't feel this itch to, man, I got to do something now by 25. But I mean, who defines these rules? Who sets these targets? Oh, by 25, you have to. I mean, it's good. It's a good thing. If you can accomplish your goals by 25, it's always a good thing. I mean, if you've worked hard and no one's given you a ton of money, if someone's given you a ton of money at 25, it could corrupt you. But if you've genuinely worked hard and you've made the money and you've attracted success at a young age, well, then fantastic. And I hope that you handle that responsibility well, because it's a responsibility. And by the way, usually those that want to be rich by 25 but don't have a clear goal and a purpose for why they do what they do, they usually don't get there. There's a great book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. I want you guys to write this book down and read it. Buy it and read it. Most people work from the outside in, but if you want to be a truly revolutionary leader, work from the inside out. Why? Don't just focus on the end goal. Okay, the end goal for most businesses is to make money. But what's the true purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing? The money is the byproduct, but what's the true vision? People don't buy computers from Apple because the specs are good. I mean, other companies make computers with great specs. It's the vision that Apple instills in people's minds. When you see an Apple commercial, you don't see a list of specs. You see a baby laughing, and in his eye is the reflection of his mother holding him. It's the story that connects with people, the emotions that are triggered. Okay, so this is just a message for those of you that are 18. I want to be rich by 20. Money is a byproduct. Now, look, I'm not expecting you to know why at the age of 19, 20. It may take you 5 years, 6 years. But go on that journey. It's an adventure. Don't be stressed the whole way through. You know, be lost in your confusion. It's okay. I would tell that to my younger self as well. Ali, it's okay to be confused, man. Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. But you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. Stop expecting to know, or stop demanding to know exactly how everything will connect. But Ali, if I don't know how, then what's the point of doing it? That's a flawed mindset. You're not supposed to know how. Go on that journey. Learn yourself. Roll up your sleeves and get dirty and receive feedback. Okay, that didn't work. Now, is it always a smarter idea to learn from other people's mistakes? Of course. But don't shield yourself from the work because you want to know exactly how. I don't want to lose any money. Well, then with that mindset, you won't do well. Allow yourself to be confused. Allow yourself to lose. You want the first video on YouTube to be viral. Flawed mindset. The first time you do anything, you're crap. But the 300th time that you do something, you're far, far superior. And your work has a higher chance of going viral because you're far better. However, you must make video number 1 and keep making videos until you get to video number 300. But demanding that the first one goes viral is, I mean, come on. It's a flawed mentality. You can't force success through being entitled. No. Success is looking for a good place to stay, as Jim Rohn once said. You've got to attract success. You don't yell until somebody comes and gives you money. You're not a child. Children yell until they get what they want. You're a grown man. Don't be yelling. I want money now. Okay, great. You finished yelling. What are you going to do now? That's just the way life works. Society, when it comes to men, doesn't really care about how sad you are that you don't have money. You've got to create real value to warrant the money coming to you. There's more than enough out there, by the way. There really is. But you can't be naive enough to expect that it will just come to you. I know there's a lot of talk about the law of attraction and stuff, but my viewpoint on the law of attraction is, of course, when you think positively and you speak highly of yourself, you create a better environment for success to want to come to you. Remember what I said, success is looking for a good place to stay. But you got to couple that with productive action over a consistent period of time. Productive action, not just action. A lot of people mistake being busy for being productive. No. You've got to be productive over a consistent period of time. Not over 30 days, 60 days. No. Mastery typically takes 10 years. Does that mean you're broke for 10 years and then you finally make money? No. See, this is the thing with you guys. A lot of you look at the process in an unhealthy way. The process can be rewarding along the way before you, quote unquote, make it big. Before you've made it big, you've made money. You've had some great successes. Yeah, you may have experienced some turbulence. But then this sponsorship came through, this happened, you sold 6 figures worth of products. To get to the 1 million a year business, to 5 million a year business, you got to have those small wins. So enjoy the journey. And I still live my life this way today. Would it be nice if everything could kick off for my YouTube channel as an example and I have 1 million subscribers by tomorrow? Of course, it'd be lovely. But I am embracing the uncertainty of the process. I'm doing whatever I have to do. I'm being productive. I'm taking consistent action. But I'm embracing the uncertainty of the process. It excites me that I don't know which video will go viral. It excites me. Because if I focus too much on it, and I'm looking constantly at the results and, oh man, I've put in, where's the result? Then I'm going to quit. But remember what I told you, get connected with the why. My why's evolved. It used to be, because I want to make a lot of money when I was 18, 19. Now it's, I want to serve as many people as possible. I want the strongest possible impact. I want somebody to be able to say, I remember watching this one video that Ali made and it just changed me. Not because it's for my own ego. It's nice for me to hear that. But I truly want to serve as many people as possible. I was once lost, confused, anxious. And I wanted to create these videos to help as many people as possible navigate their way through those emotions, which can often feel overwhelming. But, you know, to the person listening to this right now thinking, man, I just don't know whether or not I want to continue anymore, man, I just keep going, champ. Keep going. You have survived 100% of your bad days. And I know that because you're here. Keep going. Your track record is flawless. You've been there before. You've overcome those bad days. And here you are now. Keep going. And trust that the dots will connect in your future. Just trust. You don't need to know how. Remember, you don't need to know how everything will connect. Just trust that the dots will connect in your future. Develop your relationship with time. And focus your efforts over the next few days on identifying your why. I want to close off by talking about this. You need to know it. Otherwise, your goals will be surface level and they won't be strong enough to keep you going. If you don't have a reason, you're only here for a season. I'm far calmer now. I'm not anxious and, oh my God, buy 20 yet. No. There are people that are average, quote unquote, financially, if we're talking about financial success, up until they're 41, 42, and then 43, they become millionaires. But remember what I said, along the way, they had successes. We're not saying you're going to be dirt poor for the next 10 years and then at the age of 30, if you're 20 right now, then you're going to be rich. No. I've made money along the way in my 20s. I've had good experiences. So it's not like I was dirt poor for 10 years. I've had moments where I was broke. But I believe poor is a mindset. Broke is a temporary period that you go through. Someone once described the word poor as passing over opportunities repeatedly. We're not talking about people that live in environments where they're being bombed. No. That's a completely different story. I'm talking about people that have every opportunity available to them, but they don't take any. That's because it's something's faulty up here. Okay, I hope that this podcast was valuable to you. If you want to see more solo podcasts, let me know down below. Everything will connect. You got to trust that they will. And I will see you in the next episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace and love.